Alrighty. Hmm.
Yes, that's the feeling. That's the feeling. I just received the information that you're live and I clicked on it. There we go. Alrighty, everyone. How are we doing? Right, Roger and I are going to talk about, Roger, what are we talking about?
I think that we're going to talk about what's happening today, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's a time where more of us are coming into understanding who we are and what's going on in our lives, what's happening in the world and the planet. But there's a greater awareness that's coming about in the world, and so I'm going to talk about it. And what happened when I got up and I started seeing that it was raining here in California and we were having a storm. I go, that's really fascinating. And because we've never had a tropical storm alert. So it's something very different. And as I've been saying for many, many years, because this is all the information I've received, that we were going to have all these unprecedented events because everything is changing in our world. So we're changing, and people individually are changing. As I said to you, our bodies are moving in different ways because we're affected by all the energies of the planet. A lot of people are feeling incredibly nervous and unsure and all of that. And so I thought today we're going to talk about this. And my Wilhelm said they're going to give us some information more about that because it's a lot that is connected to what is occurring right now. And the more people understand that, the better they will feel and the better our world will become. That's what's going on. We'll talk about what's going on for you, though, because there's something you're in this other state, and I just need to know where that energy is.
It's a lot. It is a lot of new things.
Mhm.
Yes, relationships come up a lot, particularly with the feminine side of us, I think. So it's very beautiful to observe. Though generally shift energetically in how I feel right now in this physical being. Whoa. Processing many new things, doing this through just flowing with it, right? Allowing myself to be in it, allowing myself to feel everything that I need to in order to gain the wisdom that I can gain in the situation. I see how important it is, how my internal state is in each and every conversation that I have. It goes further into how I feel when I do things. I mean, generally, but if we just keep that example with me having a conversation with a family member that I haven't had for a long time, or just generally, if I would come, I changed 3.5 years, or like for the last 3.5 years, I've changed a lot since I have been traveling through Australia and a little bit Bali. And for me, I have to own that change. Me owning that change, how does it look? Is me being confident in who I am, right? Confident with myself, owning my thoughts, owning my feelings, owning my entire state in a way that people see exactly that. If I would show up and say I am, right? If I'm insecure when I say I talk to aliens, like they would feel the insecurity and they would bump me a joke on my head. If I say it with confidence and I really believe it, they start thinking differently about it because they do sense it on a deeper level. And when we do acknowledge that we are always, silence, it's so beautiful. When we always have a conversation, also when we're not using words, right? What is being said behind the words that I speak. How do you feel? How does your body feel? What is your body telling you? If you really go inside and listen to what it's telling you, right? What is your intuition telling you right now? Your thoughts, your feelings behind what I'm telling you, because I see it. What people say and what they mean can be very different. They can be very, very different, and not everyone is open and honest with their words that they use. So what we have to learn is what is behind the words that we speak. And I'm on a mission to make this whole thing end on this planet because it was difficult for me as a child to see, to know, to understand, see that people actually talking bullshit that doesn't mean anything anymore tomorrow. And yeah, it has been very painful. It's now, it's a gift and a curse at times, because when you feel like you run against a wall while it's communicating with someone, because this someone just isn't honest at all. I mean, you have to learn to walk away, right? You have to learn to know what to say, what not to say, what to say, when to say, and yeah, holding the silence, being with yourself, aligning your thoughts and your actions with each other. And if you do this, you will find your truth, right? I think truth is something that we rediscover as species on this planet for us as humans.
They've said, you've said everything. You have said everything they wanted you to say. I'm speaking about my Wilhelm. So why don't you share the message and then I'll bring them in.
Sure. So I'm going to share the screen. There we go. So August 21st, right? So this is actually tomorrow. Like, I mean, for me, it's pretty soon. So I'm close to that energy. And it's 2212 on the 20th. And we, so yeah, the numbers are just cool. So August 21st, 2012. Panic is never justified and always helpful when you remember the duality that all things physical hold. When you remember the duality that all things physical hold, this concept will make more sense for you. Your feeling of panic is not warranted, because it is related to something physical that has nothing to do with your eternal spiritual nature, which is never lost and cannot be destroyed. Your experience of panic can be helpful because when it occurs, it alerts you to an area of your physical life experience that you believe on some level is in danger, or that in some way you can end, which is never true. When you seek to understand the duality in all things, you further your expansion. Wilhelm.
Thank you so much for that. And we are so pleased that we're here and we're doing an impromptu channeling session, because we had our messenger say that many of you would need to understand what was occurring, because the dates, as Yarna so lovingly brought up, it was not happening yet for him, but you have this limitation in terms of linear time of what you can receive. We gave our being this message, as you see, in 2012, as we have been giving you all this guidance to help you all move through this great transition in your world, which we have called a restructuring. And you will achieve that when you begin to answer the questions that Yarna so lovingly brought up in the very beginning, which is why we asked him to speak. You each are finding your purpose. You each are finding your own sense of self, your autonomy, your sovereignty. That's what you're meant to have. You each are born with gifts and talents that you're meant to bring to the world, but you do it at a particular time. And we're saying that time is now. Now, the things that have not understood, why we have given you all this message, all these messages, all these years, was to help you move into a new dimensions of who you are so that you can create a much better world. And when we say better, we're referring to how you feel. It is within each of you to cause yourselves to feel better. So you create a different energy, and that's what shifts your world. Now, when we gave you this message, we knew that you would be in a state of panic, or you might feel that way. So you're being forced to actually own who you are and actually believe that you have meaning and purpose and worth in this world. And you all do. You just figure it out a bit at a time. And even our being couldn't have understood that we have given him this entire guide all of this time. But we've proven it to all of you. But see, we're saying this because each of you have something like that. You have something within you that is valuable, that is meaningful, that you're meant to bring to the world, and you do it at specific times. And we're saying that you're doing it now to cause your world to become what it is. We gave you a message also that's on our site, Any Advice for Today. And if you read that, you will understand more, because we gave you that in 2012 as well, because we wanted you to understand energy. Energy is what creates everything, and that's what you're all using to manifest your lives and your world, and you're doing that collectively. The quality of the energy that you put into your life, if you're going to be of light and love and own who you are, then you're creating something wonderful. If you're going to hold on to your judgments and your fear and your anger and your prejudices, because that's the biases that many of you have happening now, if you hold on to that, you never change yourselves or your world. And we are saying that all of you are here to do that. And we even have something else planned for you, because you have a full moon coming up on the 30th, and we're going to do another session there, because we told you on that day in 2012 that you could fix anything. That means anything that's happening in your lives or happening in the world. You have the ability to do that, because again, it is only energy. You just decide at what times you're going to own yours and how you're going to direct it, how you are going to choose to experience your lives, because you all have the ability to create wonderful lives where you love yourselves and you love others. And then this transition that you're moving through will be quite different. We were asked to write an article about what would happen in 2024. We've already told you that you're going to move through this challenge, this changes for a while, because as humans, you don't change quickly or easily, and you're holding on to old stuff, and not everyone will do that. And you need a collective change. And that's why we're giving you all of this information. But if you connect it to what's happening in your galaxy, you won't be quite as freaked out, because you will see that these changes have been coming for a long time. And this is why we've told you about all the different periods of your civilizations where things change. And 2012, when we gave you all this information, was a crucial point of change in your civilization. But now you are here to take that further. And that is what we have given to each of you, because you have the ability to manifest your lives in a way that you prosper, that you thrive, that you feel joy, and then you give that to your world. And that's the period that you're moving through now. The other thing we want you to understand, because you don't understand why we've used certain dates, you're looking at the fires that have happened in Maui, where you're burned down so much. And we've said long time ago, please stop burning down your planet. But many of you have not moved. Now, we're talking about energy. The energy is of light and love. And if you do that with yourself, you'll start making different choices about the planet, and Mother Earth will be quite happy with you, but you haven't moved. And this is why you think that the accidental that we're having, floods and rains in California, that never happened, and you burn down Hawaii, that's never happened. All these things, and you've had many others that have never happened in all the parts of your country, and you had people who have starved in Ethiopia, and you're not paying attention. This is why we've told you you're having a restructuring. But the more of you who decide that you're going to love yourselves, become happy and prosper, you will take care of all these problems. You will change everything in your lives, and you will do that in your world. And that is what we wanted to give you today. But we also wanted to alert you to, because this is a buildup. We always give you a buildup to where we want you to go, because energy is momentum, and you don't, really gather that very quickly. It takes you some time using your linear time again. But on the 30th, there's going to be another movement in your world, and you're going to need to let go of that old stuff and grab the new, and you will have great lives, and you'll be creating a great world. That's what we wanted you to understand today. So please don't panic, because tomorrow, as you look at your world, you might be tempted to do that. But remember that your antidote to the panic is loving yourself. That is it. Thank you so much for being here and for hearing us.
Thank you. Yes, he is back, he's back, he's back. So it all comes back down to be who you are, be who you're meant to be, and become, the become the person that you're waiting for, right? It is you that you've been waiting for your entire life, and it's been beautiful to receive the messages, right? It's always a lot of information that comes through, and
What did they say?
a lot, a lot.
I'll listen to it later. It's okay. I'm used to this now.
Yes, like it is fascinating, right? That like US channel, you don't remember what you're talking about,
Mm-mm.
and Roger sometimes a little. It's crazy for him too that this is happening that way. You can see it, yeah. So it's something that is normal, right? It's something that is really normal. I do channel too, and I don't always remember what I'm doing. Like when I do healing, I can forget things because it just happens. Or when I'm speaking things, sometimes I do just forget what I talked about. So I can't really recall that always. I could if I try myself to it, but I don't have to because it's just the moment that everything is going to be said at the right time.
And I'll talk about this too. And it's been pointed out in several of the messages where they say, I don't listen to them. I don't listen to the recordings. I do listen to them now because I am no different than anyone else. Yes, I have the ability to receive information, but for it to be useful in my life, for me to assimilate it and be able to use it, it has to be, I have to go back and listen. And it's also very crazy to me. And I'm just kind of, because I know a lot of people have told me that they've listened to some interviews a few times or some of the sessions, and I would think, well, why? And I said, I have to do the same thing. I go back and I will listen to them. And it's a weird experience because I know what is the quality of my voice, but
Yeah,
like that information is very different than what I have known, which is what I've done since
and it's
1988.
and it's different than 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
Like now, you're like fire. Like the speed of the channeling for my mom as an example, who listened to it, she doesn't understand much because
mm,
it's too fast.
mm,
So in terms of the speed of it,
mm,
when the 2 years ago, I think easier to understand because like from the speed, it's very smooth, very slow speaking or slow channeling. And this is just like you just rapid fire the information out. It's very interesting.
there
Mm.
was I'm glad you brought that. There's a message that they gave me a long time ago. They said you begin to hear faster.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a very strange concept. But what they were saying is that we all have intuition. We all receive it. Sometimes we listen, sometimes we don't, or we think we made it up, or it's not, whatever it is. But when you start
Mm-hmm.
practicing it, and then you start to develop this ability to interpret what you're receiving, because it's universal consciousness. When you can
Yes.
interpret what it means for you, and this is why I encourage people to start doing it for themselves, because this is what I did for everything. How I changed
Yes.
my life is to only, I just happen to write it all down so I can give it to others, but we're all giving something to others as we evolve.
Yeah, this is the way I do it.
Hmm.
It's the way that I process things is exactly the same way. Like we all heal ourselves the same way at the end of the day. The moment that we, yeah, implement the learning
Yes.
and we really sit with the information that we do receive and reflect on it.
Um,
Yeah, it's powerful.
that was the broadcast that I sent out the other day where I said, every person evolves the same way. There's no difference.
Mm,
We all evolve in our consciousness. That's all. We all experience
yes.
ourselves and our lives and the world through our consciousness, and those depend on our interpretations. And the message this morning, if people read that on any advice for today, because again, that came through in 2012, and it takes me a while to really understand it. But it was saying basically that we will judge ourselves in terms of good or bad. And those
Mm-hmm.
may be terms that we have learned and developed beliefs or meanings around them from something that we were told from our family, from our parents, from our world or whatever, which you might have been limited or restrictive, but then we start to label ourselves in that way. And so what you were talking about earlier is exactly undoing that, understanding
Mhm.
that we have the ability to make different choices about who we are because we have greater awareness now. And the more of us who do that, then we start not only shifting our lives, but we start putting a different quality or different energy into our world as well. And that's what we need. This work was so clear.
Yeah, this is like I jump in there. This is just having my eyes closed so I'm not getting distracted. um, I see it that in the conversations that I have now and with the family dynamic or generally drama dynamic that is going on, that through those labeling of good and bad, better or worse, like people just destroy like their lives. Like they cause unhappiness because of that. And it's been very interesting to observe that my grandma with 70 years of age, like she no asks questions. I'm like, yes, I explained to her the drama triangle and she sits there and she looks at it and she's like, wow, that's cool stuff.
There's something else that didn't come through, and it was pointed out to me, and I don't remember. Before I do any kind of channeling, I'm always receiving all kinds of information. I don't remember it all, but I just thought of something. I don't know if it came through in this one, but I want to make a point about the date, about August 21st, and especially for people in the United States, because August 21st was the date that Hawaii became a state in the 50s. That was the date it became, and now they just went through this big, and one island anyway. They just went through this historic fire where all of this history, everything was gone and burned down and destroyed. And so we have to look at that and decide, oh, is this destruction or are we creating something new? And that's what we're doing in our lives and in our world. So, but
And we have to, like here in this 3D plane, we have to destroy to create. We have to, like, we have to do it. And it feels uncomfortable. And people, I tell you, there's no going back. Like, you can't live in the past. We have to create a new future. And the churches from back in the days, they won't last forever. This is what I can say. Pyramids, they hold longer. They're more stable.
there was another message that I received, but we won't go through that today. We'll use it. I think I'm going to use this, but they said, leading up to this period of time in our world, one of the message says you were born to do something important. And I've used that on my YouTube. I've used it in different places, that one line, but I went back to find the message and I wanted to see when it came through. And it was in 2018, because they said, we want you to become aware of your presence, of your importance, because every person has it, unless we choose to not own it, that.
Yes, we have. And this is it. Like once you stand there and you acknowledge it within you, you acknowledge it within everyone.
Mm.
And this is again it. Like this is why people, when they haven't acknowledged it for themselves, they have difficulties to see it in others, or they think, oh, they're better than I, or and this and that. And yeah.
And then also the other thing, the
I'm
reason I was pushed to do this today, that I was told anyway, the next week will be a little chaotic. And so people said that was why they said, don't panic. You're doing, so you're creating something better. If you go inside, remember who you are.
like I want everyone to know that if you really learn to sit down with yourself, if you really find ways to slow down, right? You actually evolve faster. It's a paradox. When you learn to do a few things the right way, you get what you want faster than you think. You don't have to overwork. You don't have to stress yourself. You have to learn to take time to process everything that happens. If you leave your time, if you leave yourself the time to process all of it, you will find the answers with more ease, right? Like really, everyone who is in the program, and the meditations, like you know who I'm talking about. Like she is going nuts. Like she is just discovering. Like
I,
it's so great.
this as I,
It's so great.
the
It's
only
so great. It's so fun, right? Like
it's beyond that. And what it's doing, it's make
yeah. Mm-hmm.
my entire life has been made worth it because of those people.
Yeah.
I can see what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's the most thrilling thing ever. So, and I know exactly who you're talking about, and I know what they're,
Yes.
yeah, the
And
awareness.
it's a big
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. She tells me things and I'm seeing exactly what she is telling me. The way that she works with energy, the way that she is doing the healing that she's doing,
Mm.
I can see it, I can sense it, and it's so grateful to have that community. Right. It is so important for us to know that we are all a little bit weird, and this is normal. Like if you ever want to be normal, if you really, really have to have the wish to be normal, right, to do things that other people don't do. And just learn to be surrounded by people who allow you to be there.
Yeah, and and this is going to, let me just talk about this. There's so many messages, things I'm remembering
Mm-hmm.
now, and it's about um, we we achieve our greatest success when we become comfortable with being uncomfortable. You see, because being uncomfortable means that we're stepping outside of our comfort zone, that we're starting to go into a higher understanding of who we are. And that's always involved this unknown. This is why most people don't do it, because they're afraid of taking that jump to discover what's within them. And I'm saying that what you discover is this brilliant person when you decide to do it.
You discover a genius. Like you really discover a genius. If you tap into yourself,
Yes.
you are a genius. Like we have billions of geniuses on this world. Do you know how we can use that power? Have you ever thought about if we all would use the genius that we have within?
We will.
Guys, time to do some self-reflection on it. Really
And
ask
that,
yourself,
yes,
genius within me,
yes.
what should I do next? And okay,
And I'm glad you said that, because this period of time that we're moving through, there's nothing better for each person to start to do that self-reflection and also some self-care, because we're going to have chaos happening. It's going to look
bro.
disruptive, but we make the difference when we decide that we're going to accomplish something. The whole purpose of the work I'm doing is getting people to achieve their goals, create their careers, do their profession, become as successful, prosperous as they possibly can, because that's an energetic shift in that our world needs to see from the people who are going to do some good, as I call it, in the world, meaning create something sustainable, create something that's going to be for the betterment of the world. And every person has that within them. So
Exactly. And this is the great thing. And I'm coming from the side, if they have anything they have to start understand, or if they want to understand anything from themselves, I have the answers. Really, I can give people the answer that they need to gain the best understanding about who they are, why they feel the way they feel. And really, it's just a beautiful blessing to have that scenario happening the way it is, because the people, every single one who comes in gets exactly what they need, right? There's so much bullshit out there where people sign up to things and they don't, it's their expectations aren't met, right? But once you tap into your authentic self, and this is what you do brilliantly, this is what I do brilliantly, really, like we do the work on ourselves, right? We acquire the knowledge about ourselves, and this is why we can really help people, because we are moving through the blockages. We're moving through the uncomfortableness, right? Through the uncomfortable feelings, and we know how beautiful it is on the other side.
And I'm glad you said that. I'll end with this, because a lot of people are feeling that uncomfortableness, and I want them to understand. As you step into those, when I first started discovering my ability to reach these different dimensions or to do this work, I wasn't going to talk about it. And I tried to hide it for many, many years, as many people know, because it was unknown to me. However, everyone has levels of consciousness that they can reach and understand when they become willing to trust themselves. And it was a process for me. And so I just want people to be patient with themselves, because we're going to move through this.
Oh, yes.
We're being asked to change, and we got to all be really patient and just keep loving who we are.
Yes, if you ask your guides if they have a question for me, what do they tell? The question that I answer, yeah.
For you?
Mm-hmm.
There is none, except that they just say that I have to keep I have to keep translating you because you have a different level of awareness than most people, and so that's a little different. And so, but it's a perfect combination, because we're coming from different perspectives. Because we make these distinctions about, oh, I'm this age, I should have known this, I should have done that. That has nothing to do with who we are in terms of our divine plans, our energy, whatever. It's just a different thing. So I'm glad you said that.
I'm glad you brought this up now, because like three males, right? 50 plus years in the last 10 days talked about those ages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need to have a certain age to have a certain level of experience and understanding. And I'm like, I don't know about that. You can look at a 50 years old dude and hasn't learned all of his mistakes. He's doing the same things again, right? So, and this is just a different thing. And then even on the soul level, right, where not everyone is kind of yet acknowledging their true essence, their soul's blueprint, right? And knowing why they're here, what they have to do. Because this is why people struggle. This is why people feel like shit at times. This is why people seek love, right? Because they haven't quite accessed their soul's blueprint yet. So it's interesting how those things are just come from male figures. It really does. Like, I haven't heard a woman telling this. I really haven't.
That's what's changing. That's exactly what's changing.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So yeah,
thank you.
I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yes,
bro. Like, honestly, today I'm on a low. Honestly, I'm on a low, and I think like just move forward, just keep doing, and things will just show up.
You have to give yourself, and this is the other thing too, and I've got to remember this. We've said, look, let's think for where we are. It's Sunday, let's just say, and so let's just use that. Let's use it as relaxation, as self-care and love. Let's just do that for today. Thank you.
It is. Let's do some self-care, guys.
Great.
All the love. It's all yours.
Thank you. Hey, see y'all soon.
Yes.